The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
Got to turn that on. Hello, good morning. Tuesday morning is the 11th of August. Why am I saying that? Because I had a complaint yesterday from somebody who said they were watching an old episode of the show and they didn't know it. Of the stream, I guess you could say, and didn't know it. It's a big morning for a lot of folks today. And of course, yes, we have trivia tonight. I can promote that because I'm not bound by anything. You know, I couldn't promote it when I was on the radio because they weren't buying time to promote it. So, but this is my time, and I'm spending all the money on it, and so I can do it. That's all there is to it. That's all you got to know. All right, so let's go through and say hey to everybody. Paul gives us a thumbs up. We get started now. Greetings, programs. Nip got in there after Shaz Bazaar. By the way, that means two of our first three people we acknowledged this morning are in Alabama. Again, I love that what we do has broken free of the boundaries of geography and has spread to other places. I love that. 188 says, good morning. We're glad to have you here, sir. Gary says, good morning. Also glad to have you. John says, right on time. Morning from Tybee. Good to have you here, John. And again, I'm looking for some announcements pretty soon. Good morning, y'all. Good Tuesday. 33 is locked in. Good morning. 147 is joining us. Monday, part 2. Oh, come on. No, we got to get going. We've got to do this thing. Good morning, Scott and friends from Mr. Blocker out in Jessup. 200 morning. Oh, 200. Oh, 200. Okay, got it. I didn't know what that meant, but I get it now. Let's see. On this day in 3114 BC, the Mayan calendar began. It would fizzle spectacularly 5,126 later. Yeah, the world didn't end on that day, by the way, just so you know. Evelyn Brassfield getting out of bed as the second. I'm not going there. It's kind of watching my favorite TV show. I also watched the wrong video. Okay, so there again, we're today is Tuesday. You know what that means. We're going to have a special guest. No, that's the Mickey Mouse Club. We'll do that on Tuesdays. They'd have a special guest. And they had a song to go with it. Becky says, good morning. Christy says, good morning. We say good morning to both of you. Good morning from Habersham Street. Good morning, 75 out of 40. And again, the supplier of a beautiful, beautiful South Georgia 40 sign. I might not be here when you get going at 6. A bit too well, that would be 5 for you in Alabama. And yeah, I'm thinking about, and I mentioned this yesterday, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's all kind of up in the air. I can do whatever I want right now, because it's my stream, but I'm thinking about easing it back to 6 o'clock, just because when we get on the radio, we'll be on at 6 o'clock. So, and we'll make it available on podcast feed, and we'll make it available in other ways and other places. Good morning from 45 Morning Drive. Sat and had a good chat with number 45 yesterday. Rossman 912 with a really scary looking picture says good morning. And your favorite realtor. You know, I got a lot of realtor friends who might take offense to that. But Missy, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. I hear your husband is going to show up and be a spectator in court today. And again, just in case people get the wrong idea, he will be a spectator in court today. From what I hear, I was hoping my work would take me to Pate today, which meant I could just pop across the street and be a spectator in court as well. But my work, unfortunately, today is taking me to the public safety complex. Have some cool stuff we've got to reveal. I can't, like that's one of the things I promised. Good morning, Bobby. One of the things I promised with the job is, I can't use knowledge gained here and like reveal it. So, but yeah, there's something I got to do at Pate today that I think is going to be a good thing for the public, but I can't really say anything just yet. So I can't. No, he is not paid by the hour. In my opinion, he is not paid enough to be a full-time person. That's my opinion. I think the coroner should make more money, but I'm just kind of crazy that way. I think it should go through the state legislature, and coroners across the state should be paid. They always talk about a living wage. And when you consider let me just ask you this. Would you want to make your daily living about being around dead people and dealing with dead people and then dealing with the families of dead people? The answer for most of us is overwhelmingly no. But yet there are some people who not only make it their profession, they actually run for office. They spend money to achieve the office of being able to spend all their time dealing with dead people and dead people's families. And that's the thing about it. You know, when we talk about first responders and that kind of thing, we always say, well, these guys are the guys who do the job we wouldn't do. Coroner's a job none of us would do. And then the fact that we don't actually pay them decent wages to do it is kind of crazy. It's just nuts. Mr. Kaysen says, morning, sir. We caught him buying, was he buying Legos the other day? No, he's buying Hot Wheels. That's right. No, he's not a Lego guy. He's a Hot Wheel guy. Caught him buying Hot Wheels the other day. He caught me buying Star Wars, which, no shock. Actually, I bought toys at Target Friday night. I bought some Star Wars and some Kiss. And he was buying Hot Wheels. So we kind of encountered each other. It was a lovely moment. James says, good morning. Good to have you there. Ricky says, good morning. Garrett says, happy birthday to Missy. There you go. Yep, that phone rings. So yeah, people don't schedule death. Well, sadly, some people do. But by and large, they don't. 161, your home's in Alabama. No, your home is with us. Your home is with us, Jim. And there's Chuck. Good to have you there. Glad to see you there. Yeah, good times. Yeah. Two very, very grown men standing in Target with our toy purchases in our hands. It was the best. Then he found me looking at He-Man. No, did he really? No, seriously, I did. I ran into him Friday night. And I had it's a cool thing. It's a real, I don't care who you are. It's a really cool thing. A few years ago, this company called NECA, not like what up. No, just NECA. They started making these things. They licensed the Ben Cooper Halloween costumes from back in the day. Do you remember Ben Cooper? Ben Cooper, like when you went as a kid, you went to the store at Halloween time. I remember going to Gibson's. And they just had stacks of these, and they print on the side, what the Halloween costume is. But they had these boxes, and the Ben Cooper boxes were mostly generic. It was mostly the same box, and they would just print on the side the what they were a costume for and the size, and then they had a window on the front if you could see them from the front, and they would have the mask, and you could see the costume behind it. Those Halloween costumes, and NECA licensed those costumes out and started making little figures wearing those costumes. And I was really interested in that because I loved those old. You remember Don Poe? You put the mask on with the rubber band. You're breathing in as you're trying to trick or treat, and you can kind of see out the mask, but you kind of breathe, and you remember these things. And then maybe the rubber band would break, and then your dad would get a stapler and restaple, because it pretty much just stapled on there. And then it was even tighter than it was before, and it was like this. You remember that? It was the best. But anyway, NECA, they made little figures of kids wearing those costumes, the various costumes. And when they came out, there were two that I was really, really interested in their making. And they made one of them. They made the little Batman suit. And the reason I wanted that one, I didn't care about all the rest of them. I'm not going to collect everything. You collect them all, which, collect them all is sadly Gen X's. It's like our siren song. Collect them all. Yes, we must get them all. But in this case, I just wanted the Batman one because when I was a kid, I had that Batman costume. And I remember, even after Halloween, continuing to wear the Batman, just not the mask, but the costume itself. I wore it until my brother, he was chasing me on my Bat machine, which was a green machine, but styled for Batman, by the way. And he was chasing me maybe on his bicycle or something. And he got his wheel on my cape, and it ripped the cape off. And at that point, there was no Batman. So I had to get rid of the suit. But anyway, when that costume came out, the little figure, I had to get that costume of the kid in the Batman suit. The other one they didn't make, and I really wanted badly, was a $6 million Man one, because I had one of those when Chancellor Rodriguez and I met. That's how we met. We were in line for the haunted house at Ballard Elementary in first grade. And I was behind him in line, and we both had the same $6 million Man costume on. Now, ladies, you've been to a big party and someone else has your dress on. Same thing. Cattiness, spite. And from there, a beautiful friendship emerged. And we've been, very close ever since. But it all kind of came down to, or it all started because I started the conversation with him because we were wearing the same $6 million Man Don Post costume. They never made the little Don Post. In fact, when his mother passed, that was the thing I did, kind of the gesture when he came to town and his mother had passed away, and I knew how much she meant to him. I went and scoured the internet and found a Don Post $6 million Man costume, and I had it here when he came to deal with the funeral and the aftermath of all that. And I gave it to him just kind of as a symbol of our friendship. So I really wish they'd make the $6 million Man thing, but they haven't made it. But they did branch out in a non-Don Post costume, and they made Kiss. Because Kiss, 1978, they had Halloween costumes. And I remember those at Gibson's. And Target had gotten a Gene and nobody else a long time. And then they finally got the other three, but I was jobless. And so I said, well, I'm not going to do that. It's irresponsible to buy little tiny figures when I'm jobless. And lo and behold, they were still there, and I'm not jobless anymore. So I decided to get those this weekend. So they're pretty cool. They were pretty cool. But that's what I was, and there was some Star Wars stuff that I hadn't seen anywhere, and I found in a cart somewhere. Gee, I hope it wasn't being bought by someone. No, it was one of those, where they dump a bunch of stuff in the cart to put it back. It was the only one I saw. So I got it. Anyway, let's see. Morning from Brad. I told us, which hence the name of your account, I would assume. Yeah, he told me he ran into you. So he was back getting more toys, and you were looking at toys. The sad thing about toys in this day and age, I'll go ahead and tell you, I think Gen X are the only ones buying toys. I don't think the kids are buying toys. I think it's Gen X feeding and fueling the nostalgia wagon, but I don't think the kids are buying the toys. And that's a shame. To me, it's a shame because a video game is nice. The video games of today's era are pretty much movies, but they don't fuel the imagination. Like when we, and this goes back to little kids with their Green Army men back in even more of the day. You had a toy and you did imaginative play, and it enhanced your creativity. To me, it unlocked a bunch of things, I think, in your brain that would have stayed locked otherwise. And I wonder if those things aren't locked in kids' heads these days because they're not, they're not playing with toys anymore. They're just basically playing a video game that is in essence a movie spewing out in front of them. I don't know. Could be wrong with it. Good morning from 19K9. Woof. And that's a good opportunity again to remind you, there is video footage out. You can check my Facebook out of Gaston. This kid is so great. There is video of him and me playing that Otis Putnam went and shot Friday morning. It is fantastic. He is out there. There's a billboard now that he is on. He's been that now, I think it's over 635 days he's been at Animal Services, and it's time for him to go home. It's time for him to go home with somebody. And right now, you're being given an opportunity. I will pay his adoption fee. I offered this when I didn't have a job, but because I felt so strongly about getting this kid adopted. And Island Dog has chipped in $100. Robbie Roberts has chipped in a $100 gift certificate to Island Dog, which I have in my possession. Noah Ring has chipped in $100, and now we found out that somebody who's just training has chipped in $300 worth of obedience lessons. So, among all, that's like $650 you're going to get in value just for adopting the guy. And I'm reminded you can take him home and foster him. You can take him out of the kennels and take him home and live with him for a little bit and see if it's going to work out. You know, it's like those crazy kids do today where they live together before they get married. I didn't do that, but some of those crazy kids do that these days since like the 60s. But no, I did not spend a night under roof until after the marriage. But anyway, yeah, the opportunity is there. So please check him out. If you're looking for a furry companion, this guy is great. He really is a lot of fun. And I again, yesterday I had more people sending me notes. You really should adopt him. You really should. And I'm telling you, Miss Lady doesn't play that. Kind of lady's household right now. And she's just not, she's very protective of her pack, and she's not looking for applications to the pack. And that's just her. And that's the way she's been since we got her. It's a miracle she and Sweetie get along. And even they every so often have their skirmish and they beef. But you know, it's not going to happen in this house, sadly. Good morning from soggy McIntosh County. Oh boy. James likes Hot Wheels. Good. You guys love your Hot Wheels. That's good. Philip says good morning. I got around 10,000 Hot Wheels. That's insane. Absolutely insane. $1 Million Man. Well, that's Ted DiBiase. We're $6 Million Man. I was suspended on Facebook, so I wasn't here yesterday. Have a great day, y'all. I still don't know what I was suspended for. I only get on Facebook for you. I appreciate that. I hate to hear what you may have been suspended for. Let's see. Muriel says, good morning. Good morning to you. That's yeah. I appreciate that. Let's see. Not at those prices. Plus we played together. We did. That's right. Yeah. Toys are very, very, very expensive nowadays. It's crazy how much they are. We were looking the other day, and there's a regular old, now you remember the old Star Wars figures. They're 3 3/4 inches. And there was one from Mandalorian and Grogu that's like $28. And there's a sticker on the front that says deluxe. And that's, I mean, like we pulled it off the peg and looked at it. And we're just like, what is deluxe about this? It says it's deluxe, but $28. I mean, I remember at Playland, they were $229 when they first came out. I have a great story about that I'm not going to waste your time with this morning because we haven't even gotten to business yet today. Della says, good morning and happy birthday, happy Tuesday. I'll get it right. Kid lost all interest in toys about 7. Yeah, it's amazing to me. Kids just don't dig the toys. And I know this sounds weird and maybe a little dramatic and maybe a little alarmist, but I do think that's going to have consequences, negative consequences in the future. Still have many of my Hasbro WWE WCW figures. Granted, many may be missing limbs. Well, if they wouldn't be wrestling figures if they had all their limbs, all right? I mean, you wouldn't be an official good custodian of play toys if you didn't play with them. That's my theory on that. Tom says, good morning from the Dominican Republic. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on your travels. Joy says, good morning. And good morning to you as well, ma'am. Deb says, there is no lasting friendship after the cattiness with women. What does that mean? Oh, after the with the women and the okay, with the dress and everything. Yeah, see, we have the lasting friendship because we get over it. But and that was it was weird because like I'm there and there's a kid with the same $6 Million Man costume on, and I'm like, oh, this guy, can't believe this kid. And then I realized he had a necklace. You know, they had the little booth at these little carnivals where they had just literally somebody with an engraver and a little piece of metal, and they put your name on it and put it on a necklace. And we both had necklaces with our names engraved on it. So it was just, you know, and he had Raymond and I had Scott. And so that's, you know, so, oh, you're Raymond and you've got $6 Million Man. Oh, you like $6 Million Man, do you? And that's kind of how that went. The house has 3 wild doodles, or I'd take him. I'll tell you what, he's a great boy. He's a great boy. It's like rent a center for, yeah, you can try it out. See if you like it. Children no longer buy toys, but strangely buy records. That is true, and that is odd as well. You're absolutely right. Vicky says, good morning. Poison Pinto is still the best Hot Wheel ever. A Pinto, well, I'll take your word for it. Toy talk is awesome. Smartphones have taken the place of toys. You're absolutely correct. All right, let's get down to some business here. We got business. We'll take care of some business. There's some really bad reporting today that I got to get into, but there's some interesting stuff in the paper of record that we also have to get into. Bad reporting and good reporting. Let's see what this one is. Oh, that's a good one. I forgot about this one. Third suspect arrested in the car break-in spree, a fourth still at large. They basically they beat the streets and got people's camera footage. You know, people are crazy about the flock cameras. And the reality is I didn't bring my coffee in here. I may have some problems. But the reality is, again, people have cameras outside their houses. They just do. And that's far more invasive to people, I would think, than the flock cameras, which just note certain little things like license plate, make, model of car. And this is how they did this. Basically, cops went door to door to door and said, hey, these guys were out here. They were breaking into cars. Do you have your camera? And yes, we have our camera. What are you, crazy? It's 2026. Of course we have our camera. So they turned over footage, these guys. They identified one or two of them. They got them. They brought them in. And they're pretty much ratting on everybody else. And that's good police work. Third person suspected in a string of car break-ins last week was arrested Friday, while a fourth suspect remains at large, Glenn County Police Department said. Now, you may be wondering why this is being posted on Tuesday if the arrest happened Friday. And I will remind you that that's because they don't print the paper on Monday or Sunday. So if it comes in late, too late to get in the Saturday paper, it's Tuesday before it gets in the paper. But by golly, I give them stick-to-itiveness points there for actually sticking with it and doing it. Detectives and workers with Sea Island Security. They worked with Sea Island Security to locate and arrest Alfonso Leondard Hart Jr., 18, Brunswick, on Friday, and charged him with 9 felony counts of entering an automobile and 3 counts of attempting to commit a crime, commit the same felony. By the way, again, the percentage of kids named Leondard who wind up in the prison system, much larger than most other names. Jimmy's, there are Jimmy's in prison. But the percentage of people named Jimmy, not so much. The percentage of people named Leondard who wind up in jail, much larger. He joins Chance Jones, 21, and Kendrick A. Warren, 22, who were arrested on August 4th for their alleged roles in more than a dozen car burglaries in the Saddlebrook neighborhood and at other neighborhoods along Kate Road and Crispin Boulevard on August the 3rd. And so they've got one more guy that they got to bring in, and I suspect they're going to. We shall see. And by the way, no, every time now some press release goes out, I get the notes now. Was that you? Did you do that? And I'll just go ahead and tell you now, I have done nothing. This is the start of week 2. And I'm still in training. I mean, I'm breaking out and doing some things, like I'm having meetings and I'm advising some people on some things. You know, I'm offering my input on things, but like I have no access to anything still, really. And I'm still doing training. I got a 7-hour training that I got to try and get done today, and meetings. It's amazing the amount of actual training you have to do. Because I think a lot of people just thought, well, you know, he's got public relations experience. He's written things, and they'll just turn him loose. And they don't just turn you loose. You have to go through, which again is fine. I mean, want to be able to properly do the job rather than do the job poorly, but be turned loose to do it. So there you go. So the article on the front page of the paper of record, in big. There we go. Traffic, safety, and more. And you got a couple of guys. I'm assuming they advertised a quorum, because they had a quorum at the Republican women's meeting yesterday. Because there's 3 there, but David Sweat was there too, so there were 4 at least. I don't know if anybody else was there or not. And people were asking me again. That was one of those things. People were asking me. Was surprised you weren't there. Was thinking they were going to unveil you as the latest employee. No. You know why? Because I'm training. I mean, I got some meetings to go to today, but yeah, I got a 7-hour training module. I got to do it. Well, I don't have to do it today per se, but I don't know when else I'll do it if I don't do it today. So, yeah, the struggle is real. Let's just say that. Let's see. Hang on. Number 25 says we need a hurricane so you can get on the television and the paper of record will have to compliment you. Just mention. That's they actually did mention me when I was going through some other stuff, and I found where they did mention me when I was on the school redistricting board, but it was like last and a local talk show host, which is still true technically because I'm doing this. So anyway, motorists on St. Simon's can expect to see more roundabouts on the island, District 2 Commissioner Bob Duncan says. And let me just say this. I know this is probably not a popular thing to say, but that's probably a good thing that there will be more roundabouts on the island. And the reason, and I know people don't always want to hear this, is they work. The roundabouts that have been put in place so far, we make fun of them, we have fun with them, but the reality is they work. And I think the biggest thing people should be concerned about is, do they work? And the answer is, yeah, they do. Duncan talked about traffic and development on the island when he and other Glen County commissioners attended the Golden Isles Republican Women's Meeting on Monday. He told the crowd about the county's plans to add several more roundabouts to the road system in an effort to keep traffic flowing through the island's gateway and along Frederica Road. And he pushed back a little on concerns about overdevelopment on the island. Let's talk about this for a second, because this is interesting. And this is the Golden Isles Republican Women. Now, I don't blame the organization for some of the things that are said here, because it's obviously people just attending. And again, I have to tell you, nobody else is doing like this thing that you see. It's probably over here, because I'll just tell you this, on my monitor, it's right here, but on your monitor, it's probably over here. Anyway, nobody else is doing this. Like these are, I mean, yes, Rotary Club, Exchange Club, they have speakers, but nobody's really putting together the programs that Republican women's groups are putting together. And that's Chatham area. That is Golden Isles. That's Glen County. It just seems across the board, the heart and the soul of good discussion and good presentation is the Golden Isles, or is Republican women's groups. You have to give them a lot of credit for that. Anyway, back to this. A large roundabout slated for the intersection of Frederica and Sea Island roads is in the final phases of engineering design, and he, meaning Bob Duncan, expects construction to begin in the second half of 2027. So yes, a year away. He acknowledged it could be delayed by a lawsuit filed earlier this month by the Glen Environmental Coalition, seeking to halt the roundabout, claiming the project isn't within the scope of the deed under which a late businessman left the land on which the intersection sits to the county. My understanding of the land being left was that it was left to do two things. One, to be a park, and two, to provide a roadway to Sea Island. And it seems to me a roundabout would be within the scope of that, because it's creating an accessible roadway to Sea Island. But what do I know? Other roundabouts are planned for the intersections of Frederica at Atlantic and McIntosh Avenues, he said. The one at Atlantic is key to making sure Sea Island Road roundabout will accomplish its goal, as that intersection is a second bottleneck immediately north of Sea Island Road. It will likely be completed before the Sea Island Road intersection project. While some in attendance were surprised to hear about the county's plans, Duncan said the public had submitted over 170 comments during the well-attended public input sessions in March 2025. But that's really, honestly, we have short memories. I can tell you that because I'll give you a real good example. There is not a week that goes by that somebody on either the Golden Isles Scanner page or Exit 29 News, which is an exercise in just, if you want your brain to rot, Exit 29. No offense to the administrators there, but it's the posters. I've just never seen more brain lazy people posting in one group than an Exit 29 News. And again, it's not the administrator's fault, but if you ever want to just bang your head against a wall, notice how often people go online and go, "What's going on to the old J.C. Penney's building at the mall?" just want to rip your face off when you hear that again, because community church is there. They've been there. They've been there for a lot of years. They're planning on expanding. They're working on the expansion as we speak. It's not been a secret to anyone. It's been very, very public and very open. And it's been answered online about 87,000 times. And yet people still, what's going on at the old J.C. Penney building at the mall? And then because people's brains are just not there, someone will inevitably respond, oh, they're putting Rural King there. No, they're not. That's where Sears was. But you want to talk about just people, they don't engage, they don't pay attention. And then they go, gee, I didn't know there was a roundabout coming here. It's just funny. We got 170 comments from people who knew there was a roundabout coming here. It's the same thing. Nothing drives me crazier than to go online. Well, no, yes, the Halloween thing. The Halloween thing, okay. One thing drives me crazier. What night will trick-or-treating be on? Halloween's a Saturday this year. Fortunately, we will avoid all of that, I think, maybe. Halloween Saturday. What night should we? We should have it on Thursday. What night is the county doing trick-or-treating? That's actually the county is doing trick-or-treat. The trunk-or-treat thing is happening on Thursday, the 29th. But, the county doesn't schedule trick-or-treating. That's up to you and your neighbors to figure out when you want to give out candy to people in costumes, little gremlins. But nothing frustrates me more right now in a year when Halloween's on a Saturday than to go online and to open up Facebook and have to read what's going on where the J.C. Penney's was. They're building something there. Yes, they're building something. They've been building something. The church has been there for years. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. But anyway, I digress. Let's go to this. 197 checking in. Marie, can we buy you a radio station? I can't listen to my car. Okay, Marie, if you have Bluetooth, use your Bluetooth. Use the YouTube app or Facebook. You're watching on Facebook. I see that. You can Bluetooth that to your car, and you can hear us in your car. You actually can do that. It's not as clean as the radio, but it's work. But anyway, no, you don't have to buy me a radio station. Here's the thing. I have a deal. A handshake deal, because I can't do anything formal. But as soon as I'm legally able to, I mean the second I'm legally able to go on the radio again, kids, you will know it. You will know it. Because I will make a huge deal out of it. You know what's sad? I don't have access to the ratings anymore because I work for the company that pays for the ratings. But ad agencies do, and you get to know people over the years. And ad agencies get the ratings, and they can feed you stuff. And ratings came out Friday. I was let go on June 24th. Guess what the last day of the ratings was? June 24th, which means the ratings that are out right now are my ratings. And we had a really good book in Savannah. And we had a dominant book in Brunswick again. Just kills me. You know, it's funny. It's funny because I sent a text to Mrs. Rifen yesterday and just said, as this whole thing has gone on, I have not moped, as she knows. She hasn't caught me just hanging around the house going, oh, what do I do now? I've been action, moving forward. But I haven't moped, and I haven't felt sorry for myself or anything like that. But when you get the information that I got yesterday, which was we had a really good ratings in Savannah, and we had continued dominance in the ratings in Brunswick, and you just go, why would they get rid of that? Why would they throw that away? And I finally had a moment. It was June 24th, so 47 days later, I finally had a moment when I found out what the numbers were for the recent ratings, where I just went, why did they have to undo everything? I mean, the reality is, I think I'm going to wind up better off. And that's how I have to look at it. Are you better off in the plane that's going down, or are you better off taking the parachute and bailing out? Well, if you stay on the plane, it's where you've been. You don't take a risk, but you're going to crash. And you bail out, you have a really good chance of soaring. And so, I got kicked out of the plane, but I have a parachute. So I'm ready to go. But yeah, it is very frustrating to see once again. And, and I'm sure there are people who probably like his ratings are probably terrible. He's not, but I mean, I'll tell you this. We had a 13.4 share in Brunswick. We had massive listeners. And yet, again, it makes no sense. But anyway, no, don't buy me a radio station. I got a deal. It's just I can't legally do it. We're having some wrangling. The good news is there is something is happening. There are letters being exchanged. Let's just say it that way. And we'll see where it goes from there. But that's all I really know. So Frederica airing on 104.1 Friday night. Heard ad yesterday for it. Yes, they are. Frederica, we made a gamble during the quantum days to go get high school football. And it was one of those things where we just decided we thought we could do it. We thought it would be a good thing to invest in. And so we bid for it for the first time ever. We bid for it and we made sure we got it. We made a really good bid. And I'm sure they were happy because they'd been stagnant for years because nobody else was bidding on it. And we got the bid and we were preparing. And I remember having a meeting with Jonathan Brewster, who was the vice president of Quantum Communications and also our local president. And we were having a conversation. We were kind of planning. And I just kind of said, hey, I just got word that Frederica's starting a football team. What do you think? I mean, can we handle 3? Can we do it? And he said, yeah, let's do it. I said, okay. So we reached out. I talked to John Pope out at Frederica, and we made a handshake deal, which we then put into paper. And I'll tell you, the first few years we had a paper document that we signed, and after that, it was just a handshake. Such was our relationship with Frederica that, they knew we were going to be there for them, and we knew we were going to do it for them. And, Frederica doesn't get the biggest ratings, but what it does is we didn't have a rights fee with that one, which is why 104.1 really wanted that. But we didn't have a rights fee for them. So what it did was kind of help spread the expenses out because you sell sponsorships and now it kind of helps offset everything else that you're spending for the public schools. And so in the long run, you can actually make money. I will also say most years we didn't, but years when we had the right people doing the right things, we could make money on high school football, enough to keep the corporate overlords happy. But to me, part of that mix, an important part of that mix, was having Frederica there because Frederica was not as expensive to run, and thus their sales could kind of help go offset the. I learned about like convenience stores when I was a kid, finding out that some convenience stores didn't make as much money, but they were good locations, so you kept those open even though they weren't so profitable, and you let more profitable stores kind of carry them, and that kind of thing. It's the same type thing. Frederica helped us become profitable at high school football when we were, but obviously with nobody there, I think they got a little panicked and decided to put the bids out elsewhere. I totally understand it. Totally get it. That's Frederica. Everything I've been told is iHeart is planning on doing Brunswick and Glen. I have no evidence that they're doing it. I've seen nothing of the sort that would indicate they're actually doing it, but they say they're doing it. So, in 2 weeks, we'll all see, or a week and a half, we'll all see. Will the flock cameras help identify all these human traffickers instead? Teens stealing change out of cars seems low price. Well, first off, it wasn't change. Sadly, it was guns and decent amount of money and that kind of thing. But also, it wasn't flock cameras, and that was my point. It's not flock, and the flock cameras won't help you identify the human traffickers unless you have a license plate and a make and model of a car. They are not taking pictures of people. They're not taking video of people. That's a big thing. Paper of record doesn't like the Oxford comma. I noticed that today. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Oxford comma because anytime you can have more clarity, I think that's a good thing. A favorite copy of us by a, I don't know what any of that means at this point. Death by training module. Yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now. We'll get it done, but it'll take time. We won't have to buy $3 million stoplights. All right. Unless trees are removed, the next best option is roundabouts. Absolutely. And the roundabouts, again, here's the biggest thing. We can make fun of them. We can have jokes and levity about them. But the reality is, at the end of the day, roundabouts work. Hey, let me get back to this. Speaking of which, let me get back to this article because there's some stuff in here I thought was interesting. A major overhaul of the island's gateway, as planned, includes 2 more roundabouts, one at the intersection of Demery and Sea Island Roads and the other at Kingsway and Sea Island Road. They're about 3 to 5 years out, he said, during a question and answer portion of the meeting. Some raised concerns about overdevelopment and worried that smoother traffic would only encourage more development. This is a Republican women's meeting. I'm going to read that part to you again because this part just blew me away. Some raised concerns about overdevelopment and worried that smoother traffic would only encourage more development. So in other words, they want to be miserable in traffic. They want to not be able to get there so they can run people off. What? I mean, let's say at the very least, the roundabouts work, traffic is smoother, and then that encourages more people to come here. Now, I don't think people are sitting there going, this place has got enough roundabouts that we'll be there. But let's say that's really a thing. Then the traffic gets just as bad as it was before, which you seem to be happy with because you want it not changed so that people won't move here. But the good news is now, it hasn't changed any. Still the same. So let's say more people do move here because the traffic is smoother and it makes the traffic just like it is now. Then you haven't lost anything. And the tax base has grown considerably, which means we can do more things. To that, Duncan responded that much of the traffic on the island is not due to development or tourism. The bulk is generated by demand among islanders for a number of services. I thought this was interesting, including plumbers, electricians, landscapers, delivery services, and house cleaners. So in other words, what he's telling these guys, you don't want more people on the island, then quit hiring landscapers, go mow your own lawn. Quit having people deliver things to you. Do your own electrician work. Do your own plumbing. Good luck on that one. Clean your own home. For some of us, that's kind of like, what? But yeah, it's a thing. So in other words, yeah, if you really want less traffic on the island, quit hiring people to come to the island. There you go. Good morning, Linda. Good to have you here. Let's see. So they will get the flock out into the center of these roundabouts. Maybe. Interesting. Duncan lives on Atlantic. The thing about that though, is these things tend to go years in advance. I don't know what the time frame is on planning that particular roundabout, but it's in all probability it predates his time on the commission, I would bet. Saw a very interesting Bottoms ad on TV yesterday. It was supposed to be negative, but it showed Jackson shaking hands with Trump and saying he would be exactly like Trump. Well, that sounds like they're doing his job for him, doesn't it? All right, back to this really quickly. Adding to the traffic are trucks delivering supplies to stores, restaurants, and gas stations, among others. Again, if you want to live on an island, you have to have that kind of traffic. He also said the county has a code of ordinances, and as long as a development complies, the county should not interfere further. I could not agree more with him. Is that what you want your government to do, to stop someone from lawfully using their property, he asked? And the sad thing is that a lot of people nowadays, yes, that's exactly what they want. And that's why the first draft of the new ordinances were so terrible. Just saying. Kenny says, good morning. Good morning to you. Good luck in court, sir. I'm stuck at public safety today. I will not be able to make your hearing, but I will be there in spirit for you, sir. I will definitely be there in spirit. Exit 29, people never heard of Google, and they think they live in the city of Brunswick. Yeah, my next door neighbor asked me the other day. He's like, there's a plot of land over there that I think it's JWSC stuff, and he's like, does the city deal with that or the county? It's like, city didn't deal with anything out here. We're way out here. No. 87,001. There you go. Let's just schedule all major holidays to better days. Yes. That's what we'll do. Christmas is on a Wednesday. That doesn't do. We've got to have it on Saturday. Good morning, Mr. Rife and my fellow members of the 40, number 111 here. Good to have you. Let's see. Wait, so Halloween will be Halloween this year. I know it is mind-blowing for these guys. Trust me. Number 18, good morning. Roundabouts, Band-Aids, 4-lane, Longview to Hampton. You want a 4-lane Frederica. I have some friends who actually offered the phrase 4-lane the Fred. But I just don't think it's going to happen. The even if it were to be 4-laned, I still think the roundabout there is still a thing. Halloween falls on Florida, Georgia. Really? How about Georgia, Florida? Yeah, Georgia, Florida is always on Halloween weekend. It's just a matter of does Halloween actually fall on the Saturday? I remember doing a remote at Cellular One on Halloween night. Georgia, Florida playing. We're at Cell One. The salesman is there in a costume. And it's a sumo wrestler costume. And that's it. It was just like us. Like, yeah, it's Halloween night. It's like Georgia, Florida, Halloween night. What were we doing a remote for? I never understood that. But I got paid. 181 says, hello, good morning. Nice. Currently, I feel like I'm under a gag order or something. No, not at all. Not at all. Number 88 says, good morning. Definitely. You're giving them too much credit by assuming they made a logical, thoughtful decision. Sorry about that. Sorry. Good morning to Kenny Cruz. Kenny Cruz congratulates someone back. I thought the worst question was, is the cost? Oh, no, don't. All right. So there are a few that will set me off. No doubt. Pooler community info page is the same. Brain rot and brain lazy people show when government has to tell you when Halloween will be. Speaking of Pooler, they turned down that development again. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Is the reasoning that it's just too congested there right now? Because I'll just tell you, there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for development, but yes, it's very congested. You try to get off the interstate there and you're going to be stuck. You know, I tell the story in 2000, Florida State opened the season against BYU in Jacksonville. And one of my college buddies was in town because we're in the fantasy football league together and he was here for the draft. And he said, all right, we're going to the game, right? And I went, no, we're not going to the game. What are you, crazy? It's all the way in Jacksonville. And he's like, you can't be that way. He's like, Jacksonville's too close. Savannah's too close. If things are happening there, you should be there. And I took that to heart and said, yeah, okay, we'll go. And we found out that morning that 70,000 seat stadium, only like 30,000 seats had been sold. And they were anticipating some walk-up business. And so we decided to go down there and we headed down to Jacksonville. We thought we'd get there about an hour before the game. So we'd buy our tickets and we get in. We got stuck at the exit. We couldn't get out. We're just, and it reminds me when I think about that of the way Pooler is, when you're kind of sitting at the exit trying to get off the interstate. And turns out, by the way, we didn't get into the stadium, got in line to buy our tickets. There were guys in line, it was 2000s. They had the little handheld TVs and stuff. We didn't get into the stadium till like 4 or 5 minutes into the second quarter, when we were on pace to be there an hour before the game, because there was so much walk-up business. It was insane. Absolutely insane. Any word on Glenn Academy football being broadcast? Well, as I said, and I did say earlier, iHeart says they're going to do it. That's all I know. I mean, and the funny thing is, and I get why people come to me for this, but I don't work for iHeart. In fact, I'm having a dispute with iHeart. So they're not telling me anything. I don't know. They have the rights, they have the contract, and they say they're going to honor the contract. That's all I know. And that's it. That's all I can do. I know Gretchen Carlson, maybe she can put in a good, I'll tell you one place she can't put in a good word for me is Fox News. I don't think she and Fox News get along. We'll just say that. History of Hyman Solimana, spy for the British in 1911, implementation of Federal Reserve, anti-American platforms, corporate monarchy happening. Okay. Nodge. Oh, now. Okay. Gotcha. Sadly, training is yearly. Oh boy. Any word on when your new show will be aired? Am I doing it? Am I doing this? Are people joining late? Is that the problem? I'll tell you what, go back and rewatch the old stuff from today. Because I talked about it today. There's no date. We're still wrangling. The best I can tell you is it'll be anywhere between 3 weeks from now and January. That's all I got. Until we get, till we get something settled. How's that? Okay, I made it, now blow the bridge mindset. Yeah, that's the thing Matt Permar used to always say to people. And I know somebody else has taken credit for it since, and maybe, but I heard it from Matt Permar, which was always, was the island too crowded before you built your house or after? Were you concerned about people's property rights when you built your house? Or did you decide that people shouldn't have their property rights after you built your house? Roundabouts work when oak tree or limb takes out the power lines. Absolutely. Another good point. Islanders doing their own yard work. Sorry, I didn't mean to be offensive there. 168's happy to be here. We're happy to have you here. Good morning, Jamie. They need to improve the roads before that. It's extremely congested. You can't get anywhere inside Pooler in less than a half an hour. And here's the thing. I love the proposal for the district that they turned down again yesterday. I love the proposal. But yeah, the concern to me is the exit, getting off the interstate, getting into Pooler. There's a lot of land out, and that's the thing. Pooler is going to have to deal with this issue, because people want to be there, and people want to develop there. There is developable land there in large quantities, but what's already there has taxed the roads to the point that it's all stop and go. It's not stop and go traffic. It's stop and stop traffic with occasional go. But yeah, they're going to have to deal with that because people want in on Pooler, and there's a lot that can be done in Pooler. And I love the premise for that district thing, but I knew the issue was just going to be, we're going to add, because I think it's got 1,000 homes. So we're going to add 2,000 more cars plus the people visiting just to go to that area. It's just not a thing. Sadly. Did you take your allergy pill this week? Yes, I did, actually. And thank you for asking, though. The opposition to roundabouts or cutting a tree comes from people who have bought or rented an island home or condo and the next day don't want anyone else living there. Yes, largely the same people protesting on Wednesdays at the end of the causeway. Yes, exactly. So what's the line on Camden at Brunswick next weekend? Camden 28, Brunswick 13. It's interesting because, new coach at Brunswick, who knows what that's going to do? He seems to be a good disciplinarian. And I think the one thing that historically the Brunswick High teams need to put them over the top, and yes, that even includes going back to Coach Willis's days, is serious discipline. I've always felt like one of the reasons they don't get as far as they should get with the amount of talent they have is more discipline in the program. And it sounds like that's what they're going to have. I've talked to a number of people who've said, this guy's, he's come in, and one of the things he's done is buck some people that he didn't think would be bucked, that were kind of enabling some of that. And good on him for doing it. Halloween should be rescheduled this year so as not to interfere with Georgia, Florida. Wouldn't be the first time. Great job, GCPD, for catching car thieves. But again, Halloween should be rescheduled so not to interfere with Georgia. Nobody's scheduling Halloween. That's the thing. Nobody's scheduling Halloween. Halloween is up to you and your neighbors. Keep it that way. Don't get the government involved, please. Great job, Glenn County Police Department, for catching the car thieves. I completely agree on that front. We won't have the Georgia-Florida weekend for 2 years. My guess is Frat Beach won't care or won't know. That's, that is an interesting thing to gauge. As the game moves away from Jacksonville, does Frat Beach happen anyway? And, we'll see. There are a lot of people who are of your opinion or your mindset that they're just going to come down here and do it anyway. But I feel like if the game, particularly because they're doing a Georgia and a Florida, they're not doing home and home, I don't think. I think they're doing like Tampa and Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. But, when the game's in Atlanta, I don't think there's going to be a huge Frat Beach contingent. I really don't. I think when the game's in Atlanta, they'll be up in Atlanta because there's plenty for them to do in Atlanta. And I could be wrong on that one, but we'll see. We'll see. And maybe during the Florida part of that stretch, they'll be here. But I don't think it'll happen when they're in Atlanta. Lots of people want to stop any development. I just wanted to improve traffic flow. Give us roundabouts and diverging diamond before 20 more apartment complexes. Yeah, I get it. And again, with Pooler, it's hard because there's a lot of, again, people want to be in the Pooler business. But it's a nightmare to navigate it. And then, if you're on the right lane and you want to go left into the outlets or over there, or, or Royal Cinemas or any of that, you got problems. It is a nightmare to navigate that exit in Pooler. So yeah, they need another one. They need another exit, really. Is what they need. Let's see. The old blow the bridge crowd. Yes, that's the one. Good morning from occupied Liberty County. Still don't understand why Liberty County is occupied. I don't get it. You can start broadcasting on my boat today. Miss G gave me permission to give you rates you can't refuse and a free Chicken Neck Charters t-shirt. I'm going to pass on that. Again, give me a station coverage here. Let's see. Is there a way to get sheriffs back on the turn lanes of 341? People fly down this lane starting at Old Popeyes all the way to Community Light. We get some people there, sure. Yes, late. Okay. We'll catch you up. 4-lane the Fred. Why does that make me think of the whole Save the Island, Blow the Bridge stickers from the 80s? I don't know. I'm a fan of 4-lane the Fred, frankly. You need your devolution. Yes. All good things, good time. Yeah, and that's the thing. It just is going to take time here. Who shot JR? Kristen did, actually. And I remember that because as a youth, I was investigating who shot JR, and I wrote down all the suspects, and I picked, after the first episode of that whole thing, I picked Kristen. And then it turned out she was the one. I didn't understand why she had done it. I just felt like she was the one who did it. Let's see. New coach at Camden as well. That's true. Yes, Atlanta this year, Tampa next. Okay, so yeah, so I thought it was Atlanta, Tampa, and not Gainesville, Athens. So, somewhat neutral, but not really. If Atlanta is this year, I don't know that we're going to get it. We'll see. I just don't know. Let's see. 1/3 of the island does not like 1/3, which does not like the 2/3. Probably true. No rentals on the books this year so far. They would have booked by now. So there you go. Yeah. Because again, when it's in Atlanta, they're going to go to Atlanta. They want to be around the game. So yeah, I think Frat Beach is largely a non-entity this year. But we'll see. Frat Beach will be at Lake Lanier Islands this year. Yeah, again, I think they'll be closer to the game. I think some people have made a miscalculation on that one. Because I know that there are people who do think that Frat Beach will happen no matter what, because it happens every year this time of year. And they don't understand it really is about, even because I know people will say, well, the kids aren't going to the game. Some of them are. But a lot of them just want to be near the game. And that's that. Editorial in the paper of record today. Consider all options to help the library reach all. I put this out there again. Oh, see, and the editorial says, if the goal is to serve all pockets of the community, then libraries on wheels are the better answer. A new library in North Glen will be even more inconvenient to residents who live in opposite corners of the county. Again, I'm sitting on the answer here. I have been spewing the answer at people for, I don't know, a decade now, which is, again, small, commercially partnered electronic libraries. You have, I don't know, 20 tablets, 20 e-readers, whatever. Let people check them out, and then they can, I don't know what the interface is, but surely there must be one. I know they've got like that, what is it, Oyster or something? There's a couple of programs that you can do. You can check out books electronically and that kind of thing from the library. But this would be a little bit different from those systems, because it would involve, if you're in the building, you can, and you're on their tablet, then you can get the book no matter what. And then, the historical stuff should all be scanned and should be in there too. And you can go and research all of that. And that means those old historical Brunswick News microfilms and that kind of thing, which honestly would probably look a little better on the tablet than they do on those electronic microfilm readers. And those things are awful. They're absolutely awful, those electronic microfilm readers. You go to zoom in and it's just blurry as it can be. There's a gigantic learning curve of those things that just, and there's nobody there to help you through the curve. It's just a miserable experience. I bring back old school microfilm machines, because electronic is fancy, but that's about it. This is a tale of two different stories, but they're the same story in essence. This is literally a situation where the same thing is being reported in two completely different ways, back to back. And this is one of those things that when I was doing Straight Talk, people would be calling and screaming about, and I would have to set them at ease. So let's start with the first of these two stories, if you don't mind. And again, I hope that the same person didn't write both of these stories. The Glenn County Commission plans to raise property taxes and is planning a series of hearings this month to gather public input. The commission has tentatively adopted a 2026 millage rate that is 0.241 mils higher than it was, which translates into a 6.65% property tax increase. The new rate of, and please remember this part, okay? Because this is bad reporting. The new rate of 3.864 mils would increase taxes for a home with a fair market value of $450,000, approximately $38, according to the example the county used when announcing the hearings. Two hearings, August 18th and August 27th, will each be at 2 p.m. at the Harold Pate Building, 1725 Reynolds Street in room 224, which is not too far from my office. Stop by and say hi if I'm there. Another hearing will be at 6 p.m. August 20th on the second floor commissioners' meeting chambers of the Old Glen Courthouse, 701 G Street in Brunswick. So again, the county, they're going to raise your taxes. Now, school board to hold property tax hearings. Glenn County School Board will hold the first two of three public hearings today on the subject of the property tax for this year, which is not proposed to change from last year. The school millage rate has remained the same the last two fiscal years, 14.9 mils after dropping from 15.4 mils in fiscal year 2025. Landowners may see larger property bills if their property values rose, however. That millage rate is expected to bring in $108.2 million, which accounts for a little more than half of the school system's $201 million in anticipated revenues for fiscal year 2027, an increase of about 2.7% from last year. Today's public hearings are scheduled for noon and 6 p.m. in the Glenn County School Board's office at 5505 Altama Avenue in Brunswick. A third public hearing is set for 6 p.m. August 18th. So these are the two stories being reported. Glenn County is having a property tax increase. The new rate will be 3.864 mils, and that would increase taxes. School board is adopting the same millage rate, but that means that the total revenue will go up, and some people's valuations will go up. Guys, it's the same story. Why they're portraying it as the school system is holding taxes flat, but the county's increasing them, I have no idea. But if you don't mind, let's go to this. Now, remember, the new property tax rate is 3.864 mils. That's the increase, right? Here's 2026, 3.864 mils. Here's 2025, 3.864 mils. Here's 2024, 3.864 mils. Here's 2023, 3.864 mils. But again, we go back to the reporting in the Brunswick News today. The commission has tentatively adopted a 2026 millage rate that is 0.241 mils higher than it was, which translates to a 6.65% property tax increase. The new rate of 3.864 mils would increase taxes for a home with a fair market value of $450,000, approximately $38. 3.864 is not a new millage rate. It's the same millage rate. I know you can't see my icon as I highlight over this stuff. So let me hang on a second. Wait, I may have just discovered a new. Can I do this? No, I can't. It's moving it around. Darn it. I thought I could draw on this. We got to get that. We got to get that going. So anyway, let's get that out of there. There we go. So anyway, if you look at rate, the net M&O millage 2023 is 3.864. 2024, 3.864. 2025, 3.864. 2026, 3.864. They are not increasing your millage. I don't care what the paper says. They're wrong. But the way it has to be written, because of legislation, they have to say they're increasing your taxes, and that there is a millage rate at which taxes would be flat. In other words, the 3.864 mils this year would generate the same revenue as 3.23 mils for next year. And because they're keeping it the same, it's being portrayed as a tax increase of 0.241 mils when it is not. And again, if you have Scarlett Williams, none of this matters to you anyway, because your tax valuation is locked. But it's amazing to me that they report the same story, and it is the same story. The county is keeping your millage rate the same this year. The school board is keeping your millage rate the same this year. When they report on it, the county is increasing your millage rate. The school board is keeping your millage rate flat. That's not true. And again, and here's the thing that bothers me about this, that really bothers me. It happens all the time. If this were the first time that they'd screwed this up, I'd go, oh, okay, I get it. But it's not. They screw this up all the time. If the county, if they keep the tax rate the same and the digest happens to increase, and they decide to keep the increase because things don't get cheaper over time. So they decide to keep the increase as, a cost of living growth expense for government, basically. They get harangued and the paper misreports it. And I don't understand why they don't misreport it with the school system. Because the school system is bringing in 2.7%. That would be a 2.7% increase in your taxes. And there's some people who say, well, we've got to argue that they should all be portrayed as a tax increase because it's a tax. You're paying more. But I would say this. Nobody's saying that your sales tax is increasing. Right? I mean, nobody's out there going, you've got a 5% increase in your sales tax because inflation was 5%, and thus you're paying more in sales taxes as a result. Nobody portrays that as an increase in your taxes. It was when they passed that bill requiring them to call it a tax increase. I think it was well-intentioned, but I don't think it serves the public from the perspective of informing them accurately. It's a thing that should change and should be changed, to tell you the truth. Oh, you're late. Sorry about that. You should do a show and talk about issues from 4 weeks ago. Announce that you were let go from your show like it just happened to mess with folks. Asking when you'll start the next show. I'm not going to do that. I mess with people, but I don't mess with them that badly. I don't want to run everybody off or anything. How Georgia drivers can check if the flock searched their plate. And again, if you're looking to hide from flock, we have the solution. As soon as I get the Rifen store launched, the flock foiler, so I predict flock foilers will be the biggest seller. Savannah Morning News, there's a website that they're talking about here, and I think it's called haveibeenflocked.com, which sounds a little racy. And you go in there and you put in your license. Yeah, haveibeenflocked.com. That's what it is. Haveibeenflocked.com. You put in your license plate, and basically it just says, did anybody look up your plate? Did anything, and then, and again, it's not comprehensive. It is literally a list of things that were released through open records requests. So it's not at all open, comprehensive, but it is there. And again, it's haveibeenflocked.com. Let's see. I only pay that if I buy a loaf of bread. Yes, that is correct. That's what a sales tax is. But you'd still pay more. And, the same loaf of bread will be more expensive by virtue of inflation, and the sales tax on that same loaf of bread would be more expensive. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Mallard Fillmore is great today. Fact checks and the fact check. I felt this so badly. The claim, President Trump says China's trying to rig our elections. Fact check, false. They're merely cultivating a vast influence network to make us hate each other, reject our core values, and sympathize with communism. But they're not rigging the elections. We do tend to not pay attention to all the other things that they are actually doing in the course of trying to nail them for winning, for going after our elections. I thought this was interesting. Shalina Cook-Jones and I actually agree on something, which is great. Using generative AI as lazy chat MDA on AI in legal briefs. And one of the things they say in there is that, there are certain ways in which AI can be useful, but using it to make legal arguments, and because I've had to deal with legal papers a lot in the last several months for different reasons. And when you use AI will cite cases that have no relevance to your situation, but they may share a common keyword. AI will cite cases in your favor that don't back up your case. AI has been known to make up cases to go in your favor because they couldn't find a case that actually would. So Shalina Cook-Jones and I actually agree on a thing, which is good. There's a Pooler Planning and Zoning disapproves the district. Again, we were talking about that earlier, so I'm going to pass on that one really quickly. Hilton Head Island leaders delay vote on beach curfew and large gathering rules after Coligny shooting. And again, this is a thing where I know, crowds of young people can get unruly. I get that. But the shooting at Coligny Beach didn't happen because they were teenagers. The shooting at Coligny Beach happened because the teenagers were members of a group. And whatever these mysterious, odd groups are, that's one of the problems that we're having with our kids, period, is the fact that they choose to be members of groups. And there seems to be group activity that is taking place in a lot of different areas of our Southland, sadly. But I'm not in favor of let's have a curfew for all teenagers and punish all teenagers because of the activities of people who are affiliated with groups. Let's see what we've got. That's not the same as tax on unrealized gain. Well, now, see, what you're doing now is you're arguing, the basic morality of property taxes. And that to me is kind of a different discussion. When we accept the premise of property taxes, which we do and we have, and if they ever get rid of it, that's great. I'm all for that. But for right now, yeah, it is the same thing. The property tax increase and the unrealized gain is when you buy the house, you're paying property taxes on an unrealized gain immediately. So again, the premise of property taxes is that we're accepting the premise of property taxes and moving past that, and then having the argument about what constitutes an increase in that. And again, they are actually held by the law. When people get really upset about their valuations sometimes, and you can appeal that, but they are actually held by the law to be within a very few percentage points of the digest of what actually sells. So it's a thing. Let's see. An artist is leaving rocks with different names painted on them around St. Simon. Does anyone find name Chris? I'll trade you. That I do not know, but I do know that they've had painted rocks around St. Simon's for a long time. People do it. I have not seen the ones with the names, but if you see one with Scott, I'll trade you. If I find a Chris, I'll trade you. If you find a Scott, how about that? Soros paid actors to cause traffic jams in big blue cities. There you go. Well, let's go after Soros. When AI gets information from AI-generated articles, circular reasoning will spiral our world downward into oblivion. How's that for progress? Do your own research. Yes, totally. Completely agree. I found it interesting. I think it's Claude. I saw Eric Erickson talking about this. He started using, apparently he went from Grammarly to like proofread and clean up grammar on pieces that he wrote to, he started using Claude to do that. And apparently Claude is going to start watermarking everything that they do. So, some people will use AI to write entire pieces for them. And I guess some people like Eric Erickson uses them to, grammar and usage monitoring. And apparently it's going to watermark it no matter what. And so there will be a digital signature in whatever work it does that indicates that it is generated by Claude, so people can tell. And he's pretty upset because, he wasn't using it to write his pieces, but it will appear that way if he continues to use Claude. I think there is a use for AI, but it's not to put your brain on hold. There's a big publishing scandal right now. There's a guy who wrote a novel and he self-published, and there was a bidding war for this thing, and it was like $2 million deal. And right before they went to publish, this just happened. Right before they went to publish, they got an AI alert on the book that the guy had used AI to write the book. And so, the deal's on hold, everything. Although, my question is, if the book is good, should it matter? If the book is well written, should it matter? Don't know. Poor liquor stores missed out on the proceeds. Are you talking about for Frat Beach? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. What do we have? Oh, yes. Savannah City Council members and ACLU predict policy changes after flock technology misuse. 6 employees of the SPD were fired for misusing flock camera technology. And so what would be the policy reason for, what would you change policy-wise? It sounds to me, and again, this is one of those things I don't understand. Like, you have a rule in place, somebody breaks the rule, you hold them accountable for that by using the rule that's in place, and then people go, we've got to change the policy. Well, it sounds like the policy worked. What kind of changes do we need to make to the policy? I mean, people are not supposed to misuse flock cameras. They did misuse them. And guess what? They were punished. Noah Ring sent me a thing this morning from WMAZ, Bibb County, Macon. At least 3 Bibb County deputies were arrested and charged with misusing flock cameras for personal use, as the sheriff's office investigates the misuse of flock cameras. Deputy Tony Lewis, Cosnavian Stubbs, and Joseph Calloway were arrested Monday morning. Cosnavian. I knew a girl when I was in college who was Cosnavian, I believe. She was from somewhere over there, Europe. I think she was from Cosnavia. But again, the percentage of people named Cosnavian who end up in jail. I mean, just, start your kid off on the right foot. You don't have to give them, the most common name on the planet. Give them a fighting chance, is what I say. Cosnavian never had a chance. Even he went into law enforcement thinking that would do the thing for him. that certainly if he goes into law enforcement, he's not going to get in trouble as Cosnavian. Cosnavian still got in trouble. Poor Cosnavian. But anyway, again, another example of, and what people are going to say is it's another example of the misuse of authority. But what they're doing, first off, it's really easy to misuse the authority. So they're cracking down on it. And what happens when you crack down on it, long term, you have fewer people do it. They're doing the right things. They're following the rules. As I've said before, if a police officer misuses his gun, and we know that has happened, you don't stop police officers from having guns. If a police officer misuses his car, state patrol. Got a bunch of troopers who were doing pit maneuvers so that they could get insurance money, allegedly. And what did they do? Did they stop the pit maneuver? No. They said, these guys can't be state troopers anymore. That's how this works. Let's see. AI is a tool. Still need to proofread, research, etc. With those 3 commas there. You need to learn to use it for what it is. It's actually outstanding. It can be, certainly. Popeye's Octane. Okay. SPD currently has no policy on their flock cameras. So that's not good. I mean, you got to have a policy. Well, they must have some kind of policy. They must have some kind of policy because they fired 6 people over it. 1984 was supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual. Yeah, I encourage people to read it. I revisited it during COVID. And from that point forward, I went and started begging people, please read this book. Please read this book. If you read it before, read it again. It'd be like me with my MMR shot, which I understand Trump says is killing people. I think I've had 4 MMRs. Because I know I had one at 11 months. And then before I went into college, they said you had to have one after 12 months. So I had to have a second one. And then they had a measles outbreak in Florida. They said you had to have 2 after 12 months. I had a third one. And then sometime as an adult, somebody's like, hey, you could probably boost that MMRs. I've had like 4 MMRs. And yet I'm not dead and I'm not autistic. It's amazing. Frat Beach equals no sale. Yeah, I don't think Frat Beach is going to happen. I think you're right on that. I could be wrong, but I think if it does happen, it's tiny. Tiny instance. 3 men charged up to 150 after up to 150 memorial vases stolen. They basically took these things and sold them from scrap metal. You want to talk about the lowest of the low? I'm sorry. Throw those guys under the jail. That's just wrong. Just wrong. This is a good article. I don't have time because I'm hitting 8:30 here. And when I start I'm trying to get to the station. I'm trying to get to the office. You know, I don't have to be there till 9:30, but the earlier I get there, the less likely I'm to have to stay there well into the night. So I'm trying to get there around 9ish. So it usually means I got to cut off around 8:30. So I don't want to do that. But this happened, by the way, and let's do this version of it. Maura Healey signed a bill yesterday. Governor of Massachusetts. The reason I put this out here is because during the 2024 campaign, if you remember, Republicans were telling you over and over and over and over again that Democrats wanted to make it the law that you could have an abortion right up to the moment of birth. And they kept saying, no, that's not true. Oh, that's just a lie. That's Republican rhetoric. That's not true. And then yesterday she signed the bill, legalizing abortion right up until the moment of birth. That's just Republican fear-mongering is all that is. Oh, it's just, and just let me just say this. Don't ever take a Democrat's word on what Republicans think and do. I saw a buddy of mine who's a liberal yesterday publish a tweet. He shared it on Facebook, a tweet from an account that is literally a Democrat trying to act like he knows what Republicans think as a Republican, saying these absurd things that he thinks Republicans think. And my friend put that out there as an example of how sick and twisted Republicans are. So you literally have a guy who says, I think Republicans are sick and twisted. I'm going to make a fake account to say sick and twisted things as a Republican. And then another Democrat grabs that and says, hey, look, see how sick and twisted Republicans are? And then all of his Democrat buddies were, yes, they're awful. They're terrible. Can't believe these people. Meanwhile, no Republicans were actually involved in the process of putting that social media post out there or putting that idea or thought out there. It's absolutely amazing. They don't have anything on Flock, but they do have one on department policy. Lots of their officers told me they need a policy on the Flock. They absolutely do, especially as much of a hot button issue as it is. They absolutely need something on that. And then really quickly, thought this was interesting. This is a notion you don't hear a lot. And this is, again, why I like to turn to National Review, because they come up with things that you don't hear about. Affordability may be today's political buzzword, but the truth is that it will always be a top political issue. When we talk about inflation or unemployment or GDP growth, what we're mostly concerned about is whether people can afford the things they need and want. When someone in your life has trouble paying his bills, he may profit from advice about hard work and thrift. Maybe he should learn his way around the kitchen, but mistakes on his part do not erase valid complaints about an economy and government that make paying those bills harder. Economizing by households is not a substitute for better policies, and political parties and movements cannot set themselves up as the voters' tutors. Conservatives and libertarians, more than anyone else, should understand all the ways modern government makes it harder to make ends meet. They should share and express the voters' anger and try to direct it toward constructive channels rather than the dead ends of big government liberalism or worse, democratic socialism. In other words, when you acknowledge and agree that things are too daggum expensive nowadays, don't make the solution another big government program. Oh, we've got to have a big government program to take care of the affordability crisis. Because all government intervention in the marketplace does is make things more expensive. I mean, it's shown time and time again. The high cost of housing. Well, let me go further. If sticker prices are too high, that is in part because the Federal Reserve has expanded the money supply too much during the last 6 years and has been reluctant to admit or correct its mistakes. Dead on. The Fed is not going to exercise so much monetary restraint that the price level falls, but it ought to take its inflation target more seriously than it has done. Conservatives ought to insist on it and write into law a tighter mandate for the central bank to produce the macroeconomic stability that is the Fed's only justification for existing in the first place. The high cost of housing, particularly in economically booming regions of the country, is a significant challenge for young people starting their working lives and thinking about starting families. The chief culprit is overregulation via zoning, building codes, and rent controls, particularly in some deep blue jurisdictions. Conservatives should call attention to that overregulation and, where appropriate, and sometimes in coalition with non-conservatives who see the potential of markets to address this problem, legislate against it. The expense of health insurance eats into paychecks. Conservatives should advocate lifting regulatory barriers to the sale of renewable insurance policies that protect owners from the risk of high medical costs. Additionally, the higher education cartel has become an expensive choke point to economic opportunity. While Republicans' big tax bill last year made some progress in reforming the student loan programs, much more can and should be done to dismantle that cartel, from opening up accreditation for new institutions to holding old ones accountable for running diploma mills. And by the way, Chancellor Rodriguez has been part of the creation of a whole new accrediting body in Florida, and they've gotten Georgia to sign on, and they've gotten the Texas A&M system to sign on. I think North Carolina signed on. So yeah, those reforms are happening. They're happening with our guys. Republicans face political challenge in this election year, even beyond being in charge of the White House and Congress at a time of economic discontent. Two of their major policies, the on-again, off-again prosecution of the Iran war and President Trump's mania for tariffs, are contributing to high prices. The economics buttresses the geopolitical case that our chief near-term objective with respect to Iran should be the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and Trump's failed experiment of trade wars against the rest of the world, which has cost $900 per household this year, should be abandoned. Many Republicans will unfortunately balk at breaking with Trump on trade, but they ought to at least refrain from dismissing voters' unhappiness with prices as a mere Democratic talking point or attributing it to their being spoiled kids. Unless, that is, they want the voters to conclude that keeping Republicans in office is unaffordable too. But yeah, the tariffs cost you $900 this year, and we're not even done with the year. So again, tell me what a great thing that is. The answer is not a great thing. Let's see. Oh, KGIB is planning for Frat Beach as usual. This is Leah. Do deep dives into their social media surrounding it. You will read the "This is our weekend, this is our day, we deserve this day" mentality, plus the number of non-UGA students from surrounding counties and colleges taking part. Frat Beach and the game are two separate moments in time. We will be there regardless. Even 4,000 on the beach that day generated a lot of beach and ocean trash. Well, here's what I hope, Leah. I hope you don't have to do a lot. I am glad. And that's the thing, too, is I don't know that we're going to get a ton, but I do think that we need to be prepared for it, certainly. Let's see. For the love of God, don't try to make the solution dumping even more money into the. No, that was 100% the inflation problem in the first place, was dumping more money into the economy. Tried emailing to the taxes. Is the Brunswick News favorable towards the school board over the commission due to its political leaning, or is due to the children? Honestly, I think it is due. How do you say that? It may well be that the county didn't put out, and I don't know. I'll talk to Brittany about it this morning, or when I see Brittany today, because I got a meeting she's at. I don't know if we put out a release explaining it. I mean, and probably it goes to, they think that they just understand because this has happened so many times before that they may not have felt like they had to explain it. But I don't know. It may just be that the school board explained it better. Or it may be that two different reporters did it and they have two different understandings of it. But this has happened in the past where they've explained to them and they've written the wrong thing. A lot of it has to do, again, with how the legislature mandates. I don't know if the legislature mandates the county government do, or the school board do it the way the county government has to do it. I'll have to look into that. I'll ask that question. But it's, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. How that got represented two totally different ways. But it did, and it's the same exact thing. And again, I'll ask and see if the county actually has a different standard for reporting this to the public than the school board does. Because again, I know there's legislature that says they have to publicize it as a tax increase, but it's really the media, a responsible media's duty to get that right. So we'll see. Anyway, I got to get out of here. It's after 8:30. It's 8:37. If I don't do this, I'm not going to get there when I want to get there. So I got to knock this off for now. You guys have a great day. Don't forget, we got trivia at Mack's tonight, starting at 7:00. Mack's on New Jessup Highway, not the one on Community Road or Cypress Mill Road, because they are only open for lunch there. But Mack's on New Jessup Highway out Sterling Way. We've had huge crowds the last several weeks. And so we suggest you get there early, get ordered, kick back, relax, and enjoy a good time tonight, starting at 7:00 at Mack's. See you then. And if you don't make it tonight, I'll see you in the morning. Bye.